2021, I did 130 LeetCode questions in the span of May, June, and July in order to get ready for software engineering interviews. In 2022, so far, I have done 30 LeetCodes, and it's almost the end of July. And so, instead of preaching to you guys constantly about why you should be doing 1 to 2 LeetCodes every single day before you're ready to take interviews, I'm going to give you guys some of the reasons that this year I'm LeetCoding around 80% less than I did last year. But before that, I would really appreciate it if you guys could all hit the like button. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm right now, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could help out the channel and help us grow. Now, getting into the reasons why I'm LeetCoding so much less this year than last year. Now, the first reason that I'm LeetCoding less this year is that I feel that now I have that foundational base of knowledge on how to solve LeetCode problems that I did not have last year. And this might seem like a weird reason because you should keep practicing, and that some people will do 300 LeetCodes, some people will do 500, some people will do 900, some people will do 15 and still get FANG. And here I am at 130, and I'm starting to see that I do agree with the fact that if you have that baseline of knowledge, grinding out LeetCodes will only help you so much. Because at that point, if you can pass most of the hacker ranks and the algorithms that you're given to solve, the things you should be working on are soft skills and things like projects and experience. But more than that, I feel like I already have that foundation of knowledge of how to solve LeetCode problems that I don't need to spend hours and hours every day grinding out LeetCode in order to be successful on interviews that I'll be having in the future. I've talked to a lot of people who are interning and have jobs at FANG companies, and I ask them, how many LeetCodes have you done? Usually it's less than 30 for the entire interview season, or like total that they've done on LeetCode. And I think that I do agree that this is starting to show that you don't have to grind LeetCode. You have to get, and that should never be the goal, is to grind anything. The goal of grinding LeetCode is to get better at doing algorithms and data structures. And if you're great at doing them already and you understand them from the classes you've taken or the projects you've done, things like that, I don't think that you need to be spending all that much time doing LeetCode, because then it's just wasting time and affecting your mental health if you don't enjoy it. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should only do 30 LeetCodes or that you shouldn't do any LeetCode at all. What I'm saying is that if you have the foundational knowledge, you don't have to grind it out as hard unless you want to be in that top 1% and assure that you can pass any technical interview. But at that point, I doubt that it's your technical skills that are going to be holding you back in your interviews. But again, if you don't have that foundational knowledge, you should definitely be doing some LeetCode and some of the other algorithm resources I've talked about before on the channel to build up that foundation. Or even if you don't have that foundation and you do grind LeetCode, you still might not gain that foundation because you have to be grinding LeetCode in a way that's actually productive, which doesn't mean just going and doing problems, struggling with it, looking at the answer, and not internalizing anything. It's all about pattern recognition, but I have other videos on this, so if you're interested, go ahead and check them out. The second reason that I haven't been grinding LeetCode as much this year is that a lot of the FANG interviews and high-level interviews rely on luck. Now, I'm not trying to disparage anybody who's gotten into one of these companies before or has not done a lot of LeetCode and still gotten into one of these companies. What I'm saying is that some people are given really hard problems on a certain day. Some people are not given really hard problems, and a lot of it comes down to two factors, being how nice your interviewer is, and two, what question they ask you. Because if they ask you something you don't know, but they're nice enough to walk through it with you and give you the points, versus if they give you a hard problem and they don't do anything and they just sit there and watch you struggle for 30 minutes, it's going to be a way bigger difference in how you're ranked in the other applicants, versus if they give you an easy problem and it's a nice interviewer, or an easy problem and a hard interviewer. It's a lot easier to walk through an easy problem with somebody who's not talking. But if you're walking through a hard problem, it's really easy to talk yourself in circles, and just kind of get yourself lost, if that makes sense. I can't even name the amount of times that I've gotten a problem that I should have known the answer to, but then there are a lot of times that I've gotten really, really hard problems, hard to me, that I was said I could not figure out well in the interview setting. But then there's those people who have gotten fizz buzz for their final Amazon interview. That's a final FANG determining round. One of the well-known, easiest algorithm problems ever. Some people can't do it, which I don't think you should be at that top level of software engineering if you can't do FizzBuzz. For that to be given as a final round interview question at a FANG company that pays in the mid 100,000s for entry level is absolutely nuts to me. And I think that showcases really well the level of luck at play here, because some people get really hard problems for the same interview round. Even if there's no other differences in the candidates themselves, it all depends on the interviewer on that day. Now, a lot of people in industry have been agreeing that once you reach a certain level of basic proficiency with algorithms and data structures, it's more about your soft skills, your experience, how many internships you've done, how many jobs you've done, how many years you've been working, and how well you know your framework or what you're applying for. If you're applying for front end, how well you know JavaScript or something like HTML, CSS, React. If you're applying for back end, how well you know your framework of choice or how well you know the concepts at play. And so basically, everybody should be striving to be a well-rounded candidate and not just somebody who can crank out algorithms, because there are a lot of people like that, and you don't want to be in that bucket because it feels terrible to do great on technical rounds and then still not get the job for any of the companies that you wanted to work at. And now on to reason number 3, which is that I really just don't have as much time as I had 1 year ago. So I've been spending a lot of time doing things like working, freelancing, taking care of my dogs, moving to this new apartment we moved into, trying to do YouTube, and trying to prioritize my classes on top of all of that. And it's just been a lot of time spent doing these things. And sometimes, if I have a little bit of time left at the end of my day and I can shorten something to give myself back some time to take care of myself, Leetcode's gonna get cut. And now on to reason number 4, which is that I simply don't enjoy Leetcoding anymore. Last year, I was able to get into this awesome groove of like doing Leetcode problems every single day, getting that dopamine rush from that green accepted text. And I think it's awesome that I was able to just get into this competitive groove about it. And I craved that Leetcode almost just to like get that check mark on my day that I did it. But this year has just been so mentally exhausting to try at the end of my day to do an algorithm problem like I was at an interview. And I think that I just have not been able to form that 21 days to a habit so far. Probably mostly because I can't just like get my head around and wrap my mind around some of the solutions that I see after I'm trying to study after a long day of everything else. I'll see like the solution, it makes absolutely no sense to me. I'll just be like, I don't have the time to understand this problem right now. So I'll just do Leetcode the next day or sometime when I have more mental strength. And so it just feels like Leetcode has become more of a chore right now, and I just would rather spend a lot more time working on things on my resume like experience, content, networking, and projects, because I feel that my Leetcode's at the level of basic proficiency. I can solve some algorithm problems. Most of them I'm going to be able to work through pretty okay if I'm given an interview setting. But I feel like grinding at this point is not 100% necessary, and that maybe even changing my frame of reference or how I work through problems would be better than just grinding out problems. And I'm not alone in thinking this way, because if you look at places like r/CS career questions, not a lot of people are down to grind out 500 Leetcodes in order to get that good job that they want. People are much more interested in being a well-rounded candidate themselves, and they kind of hate how much weight the algorithm section is given in these technical interviews. And that's mostly going to be because people don't want to go home and grind Leetcode questions after a day, working 6 to 10 hours staring at a screen. Unless you have robotic tendencies, you don't want to go home and stare at a screen more at night instead of spending time unwinding or with your family or loved ones. It just doesn't make sense to go home and stare at the screen even more and be even more frustrated. And that's terrible for things like mental health and just like how tired you're going to be on a daily basis. I definitely think we still have it better than things like doctors and lawyers who have to spend way more time in school or don't make anywhere near as much. But I still think that there's room to grow in software engineering in terms of how we interview candidates. But I like to take solace in the fact that because everybody now knows about Leetcode, more or less, and this process is becoming so well documented on how you can grind out algorithms and data structures to get a good job, I feel that it is becoming a much less important section of the programming interview. But I feel that one day it'll have a very, very low sense of importance in the programming interview. It'll be worth less out of all the sections because it's going to be way too easy for people to grind out Leetcode just to get that high-paying job. And people don't want robots to work for them. They want well-rounded candidates that are able to communicate well and efficiently and work through problems efficiently as well. Just look at companies like Plaid and Stripe. These are really, really well-paying companies, and their interviews focus more on making API calls or doing HTTP requests or unit testing. And I think that this is a lot better version of interviewing because it focuses more on what you're actually going to be doing during the job. And there are a ton of companies that actually interview like this and don't do any Leetcoding. There's a huge list of them. I'll drop it down below in the description if you're interested. You should check it out. It's a massive, massive list. Now, don't get me wrong. I really want that FANG offer or high tier tech offer, and for that reason I view it as almost a personal challenge. And so what I'm going to be doing is at least one Leetcode every single day for 21 days until that habit solidifies, because it takes 21 days to solidify a habit. I'm going to be doing it every single day until I'm able to get into the groove again so that I can do one Leetcode every single day until interview season starts, which is in about a month, maybe 2 months for most interviews. And so that should put me at about 100 Leetcodes or so, which should definitely be enough to get that high tier offer if I am lucky enough during one of them. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that I don't give up and I'm not going to be giving up, and I'm going to be getting that offer this year. But that's going to wrap up the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this new mic quality. I invested in a nice microphone so you guys would have more bearable audio, more consistent audio, and less background noise throughout each video. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please, please, please consider subscribing. If you gain anything from this video, you will get notified whenever I post new videos in the future. Thank you all for watching, and please be sure to go do that Leetcode before the end of the day.